Jason Morgan's medical crisis, when headaches become a life-threatening discovery. The recent loss of Monica Quartermain has left Jason Morgan in an emotional tailspin that Port Charles hasn't witnessed in years. But what started as grief-stricken behavior following his mother's funeral has slowly evolved into something far more concerning and potentially life-threatening. The warning signs begin. It started subtly at first. Jason found himself rubbing his temples more frequently during conversations with Carly. The headaches came in waves, sometimes mild enough to ignore, other times sharp enough to make him pause mid-sentence. Danny noticed his father wincing during their morning conversations, but Jason brushed off his son's concerns with his typical stoic demeanor. The headaches weren't just random occurrences. They seemed to intensify during moments of stress when confronting Drew about family matters, during heated discussions with Sonny about business decisions, or even during quiet moments when memories of Monica would surface unexpectedly. What Jason didn't realize was that his body was sending him urgent warning signals that couldn't be ignored much longer. A father's concern. Danny Morgan, ever observant like his father, began noticing subtle changes in Jason's behavior that went beyond typical grief. During their recent heart-to-heart conversations, Jason would occasionally lose his train of thought or seem momentarily disoriented. When Danny mentioned it to his grandfather Sonny, the concern began spreading through their inner circle. Elizabeth Weber, working her shifts at General Hospital, noticed Jason's frequent visits to the hospital weren't just about checking on family members. She observed him discreetly massaging his temples in the hallway, sometimes gripping the wall for support when he thought no one was watching. Her medical instincts told her something was wrong, but Jason's resistance to discussing personal matters made approaching the subject delicate. The moment of truth. The breaking point came during a seemingly routine morning at the Quartermain mansion. Jason was sorting through Monica's belongings with Tracy when a sudden, excruciating pain shot through his head like lightning. The pain was unlike anything he'd experienced before, even worse than the headaches that had been plaguing him for weeks. Tracy watched in horror as Jason's face contorted in agony, his hands flying to his head as he staggered backward. The man who had survived countless gunshot wounds and dangerous situations was brought to his knees by an invisible enemy attacking from within. Danny, who had been helping nearby, immediately called 911 while Tracy tried to keep Jason conscious. The pain. It's like something's exploding in my head. Jason managed to gasp before his vision began to blur. By the time the paramedics arrived, Jason was barely responsive, his vital signs showing dangerous fluctuations that sent the medical team into high alert. Emergency at General Hospital. The emergency room at General Hospital erupted into controlled chaos as Jason was rushed in. Dr. Terry Randolph immediately ordered a comprehensive neurological workup, including CT scans and MRI imaging. Elizabeth worked alongside the medical team, her personal connection to Jason adding urgency to an already critical situation. When the initial scans revealed what appeared to be a mass in Jason's brain, the medical team's worst fears were confirmed. Dr. Terry called in a consulting neurosurgeon while preparing Jason's family for devastating news. The preliminary images showed a tumor pressing against critical areas of Jason's brain, explaining not only the severe headaches, but also the personality changes and cognitive symptoms that had been developing over recent weeks. The devastating diagnosis. Carly arrived at the hospital within minutes of receiving the call, her face pale with terror. Sonny followed shortly after, despite their recent tensions. As they gathered in the waiting room with Danny, Tracy, and Elizabeth, Dr. Terry emerged with news that would change everything. The scans show a mass in Jason's brain, Dr. Terry explained, her voice maintaining professional calm while delivering life-altering information. The tumor appears to be pressing against areas that control memory, personality, and motor functions. Given its size and location, we need to operate immediately. The silence that followed was deafening. Carly's hand flew to her mouth as tears began streaming down her face. Danny, trying to be strong like his father, struggled to comprehend that the man who seemed invincible was facing his greatest battle yet. Tracy, having just lost Monica, couldn't bear the thought of losing Jason too. The race against time. Dr. Terry continued with the urgency the situation demanded. The tumor is in a very dangerous location. If we don't operate within the next few hours, the pressure could cause permanent brain damage or worse. But I need you to understand this surgery carries significant risks. The medical team explained that the procedure would require delicate navigation around critical brain structures. There was a possibility that Jason could wake up with memory loss, personality changes, or impaired motor function. In the worst-case scenario, he might not wake up at all. As Jason was prepped for emergency surgery, he experienced brief moments of consciousness. During one of these lucid intervals, he managed to squeeze Carly's hand and whisper instructions about Danny's care. To Elizabeth, he expressed gratitude for her friendship and asked her to tell Sam's memory that he tried to be the father Danny deserved. The surgical challenge. The neurosurgical team, led by a specialist flown in from New York, prepared for one of the most challenging operations they'd face. The tumor's location near Jason's brainstem meant that even the slightest mistake could result in catastrophic consequences. The surgery was expected to take anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, with the family maintaining a vigil in the hospital waiting room. As news of Jason's condition spread through Port Charles, unexpected visitors began arriving at the hospital. Despite their complicated history, Drew appeared, setting aside family feuds in the face of a medical crisis. Michael and Willow came to support Danny, while Spinelli rushed from wherever his latest investigation had taken him. Family bonds and difficult decisions. During the long hours of surgery, conversations took place that had been avoided for months. Carly and Sonny found themselves putting aside their differences to focus on Jason's well-being. Danny, mature beyond his years, became a source of strength for the adults around him, demonstrating the resilience he'd inherited from both his parents. Tracy shared stories about Monica's final weeks, revealing that Monica had been concerned about Jason's recent behavior changes. She noticed he seemed different after the last few incidents. Tracy confided. Monica thought it might be emotional, but maybe she sensed something medical was happening. Elizabeth, drawing on her medical knowledge, helped explain the surgical procedures to family members while managing her own fears about losing someone who had been such an important part of her life. Her professional composure masked the emotional turmoil of watching another person she cared about fight for their life. The waiting game. As the surgery stretched into its 7th hour, the waiting room grew quiet with exhaustion and anxiety. Danny had fallen asleep against Carly's shoulder, while Sonny paced the whole way making calls to ensure Jason's business interests were protected during his recovery. Tracy sat silently, occasionally sharing memories of Jason's earlier medical crises and his remarkable ability to overcome seemingly impossible odds. The medical team's periodic updates provided little comfort. The tumor was more complex than initially thought, requiring careful removal in multiple stages. Each hour that passed increased both the surgical risk and the family's emotional strain. A community rallies. Word of Jason's condition spread throughout Port Charles, demonstrating the profound impact he'd had on countless lives. Former adversaries put aside grudges to offer support, while longtime friends gathered to provide whatever assistance the family needed. Britt Westburn, despite her own complicated feelings about Jason, made herself available for medical consultations. Her expertise in neurology provided additional perspective on Jason's condition and treatment options. The medical community at General Hospital rallied around one of their own, with staff members volunteering for extra shifts to ensure Jason received the best possible care. Hope and uncertainty. As this medical crisis unfolds, Jason Morgan faces the greatest challenge of his life, not from external enemies or dangerous situations he can fight, but from a silent threat attacking his brain. The successful removal of the tumor represents only the first step in what promises to be a long and uncertain recovery process. The questions that remain are as challenging as the surgery itself. Will Jason retain his memories and personality? How will this medical crisis affect his relationships with Danny, Carly, and the extended Quartermain family? And perhaps most importantly, will the man who emerges from this ordeal still be the Jason Morgan that Port Charles has known and respected for decades. Only time will tell whether Jason's strength and determination, combined with the love and support of his family, will be enough to overcome this latest challenge and allow him to rebuild his life once again. Next, we're uncovering how the Quartermain family's profound sorrow following Monica Quartermain's departure is stirring up unexpected emotions across Port Charles, potentially fanning the flames of romance between Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer through Lucy Coe's touching tribute at the memorial service. The air in Port Charles hangs heavy with the Quartermain clan's unfiltered anguish after Monica's heartbreaking exit, a loss that ripples through the community like a storm, touching everyone from longtime allies to distant acquaintances in ways that highlight the unbreakable ties of family and friendship. At the center of this emotional maelstrom stands Lucy Coe, whose delivery of a soul-stirring eulogy during Monica's solemn memorial ceremony not only honors the late matriarch, but also inadvertently plants the seeds for a possible romantic resurgence between Dante and Lulu, two souls whose paths have intertwined through years of passion, pain, and co-parenting challenges. As Lucy paints a vivid portrait of Monica and Alan Quartermain's legendary romance depicting them as soulmates who weathered storms of infidelity, corporate rivalries, and personal tragedies to emerge stronger, her narrative resonates deeply, causing Dante and Lulu to share a magnetic glance that crackles with unspoken history. Social media ablaze with fan fervor, as eagle-eyed viewers dissect this fleeting yet powerful connection, dubbing it a clear sign that the Lulu era might be far from finished, with hashtags trending and speculation running wild about whether grief could be the ultimate matchmaker in this high-stakes world. Lucy's eulogy unfolds like a cinematic masterpiece at the Grand Quartermain estate, where mourners gather under crystal chandeliers and amid bouquets of white lilac symbolizing Monica's grace, her voice trembling with authenticity as she chronicles the epic saga of Monica and Alan's love. She describes their journey with poetic flair, recounting stolen moments in the hospital gardens, heated arguments in boardrooms that dissolved into tender reconciliations, and the quiet resilience that saw them through the darkest days, including Alan's affairs and Monica's own temptations, ultimately affirming that true love defies all odds. The climax of her speech arrives with a resonant declaration. Everyone can see that kind of love in a couple, a line that hangs in the air like a prophecy, striking Dante and Lulu at their core as their eyes meet across the crowded room, evoking a montage of their own shared past sunlit picnics with young Rocco, late-night stackouts blending cop work with flirtation, and the vows they exchanged before life pulled them apart. This intersection of tribute and personal revelation transforms the funeral into a pivotal turning point, with fans on platforms like Facebook erupting in excitement, one posting, "That intense Lulu stare down. Lucy might as well have been scripting their reunion right there." Her words, intended as a homage to the Quartermains, cleverly illuminate the parallels in Dante and Lulu's bond, suggesting a love story capable of mirroring Monica and Alan's tenacity amid Port Charles' relentless drama. Amid the swirling undercurrents of loss and legacy, this spark of romance emerges at a particularly turbulent time, amplifying its intensity and drawing viewers deeper into the characters' emotional turmoil. Lulu, ever the devoted mother and aspiring journalist, is still processing the harrowing impact on her son Rocco after he stumbled upon the gruesome scene of Judge Eva Heron's lifeless form, a discovery that has left the boy haunted by nightmares and questions about safety in their unpredictable town, prompting Lulu to double down on protective instincts while chasing leads that could expose hidden dangers. Meanwhile, Dante grapples with the seismic shock of his brother Nathan West's improbable return from the presumed dead, a miracle laced with complications, compounded by Maxie Jones' sudden plunge into a coma that leaves him torn between duty at the precinct and bedside vigils filled with unspoken regrets. Their ongoing collaboration in raising Rocco has maintained a steady rhythm of teamwork, coordinating school runs, attending therapy sessions for the child's trauma, and sharing custody handoffs laced with lingering glances. But this dialogue transcends the routine, reigniting echoes of their fiery marriage from before the 2020 divorce. when passion ruled their days and nights in stolen embraces amid mob threats and family crises. Fans are buzzing with the possibility that this vulnerability could propel them beyond mere partnership, especially as Lulu's investigative ambitions occasionally butt heads with Dana's rigid adherence to police protocols, creating friction that might evolve into sparks of reconciliation. The potential for a Lulu revival feels tantalizingly close, fueled by the inspirational weight of Monica and Alan's enduring saga as echoed in Lucy's heartfelt oration, which has ignited dreams of a full-fledged romantic comeback among the fandom. That charged visual exchange speaks volumes about unresolved affections, hinting at nights spent reminiscing over old photos or chance encounters at the floating rib that could blossom into more. Yet the road ahead is fraught with hurdles that test their resolve. Dana's previous entanglement with Sam McCall, marked by intense chemistry and shared adventures in solving crimes, now lingers as a faded memory, much like Lulu's brief chapter with Dustin Phillips, a stable but uninspiring interlude that underscored her craving for the adrenaline only Dante provides. As the Quartermaine estate erupts into a frenzy of inheritance disputes fueled by wills, hidden clauses, and opportunistic claims, the arrival of the enigmatic Veronica Ronibard adds another layer of distraction. Her poised demeanor and mysterious ties potentially drawing Dante and Lulu into legal tangles or family alliances that demand their attention. Invented scenarios swirl in fan imaginations. Perhaps Ronnie uncovers a Quartermaine secret linking back to the Falconeris, forcing Dante and Lulu to team up in a late-night strategy session that blurs professional and personal lines once more. The fanbase remains passionately split on the trajectory of this budding tension, with online debates raging like a Port Charles thunderstorm, some hailing it as the ultimate endgame, while others caution against reading too much into the haze of morning. One enthusiastic Facebook thread declares, "Lulu forever. Monica's spirit is basically shipping them harder than we are, envisioning wedding bells, or at least a heartfelt confession under the stars, complete with Rocco's blessing as the pint-sized matchmaker." Conversely, skeptics argue it's merely the raw vulnerability of grief amplifying old emotions, predicting a return to status quo once the funeral fog lifts and real-life pressures, like ongoing investigations into Nathan's survival or Maxie's recovery, reassert themselves. This division mirrors the soap's genius for balancing hope and heartache, keeping audiences hooked on every glance, whisper, and what if. Whether this moment blossoms into a second chance at love or fades into poignant nostalgia, it's a testament to General Hospital's knack for weaving personal stories into the fabric of communal loss. As the echoes of the memorial linger, Monica's legacy of resilient love continues to inspire, potentially guiding Dante and Lulu toward healing and harmony in ways no one saw coming. Tune in daily to witness if this spark ignites a full blaze, and remember to like, subscribe, and tap that bell for all the hottest spoilers straight from Port Charles. Next, we're peeling back the curtain on some eye-opening revelations from a former star about the turbulent atmosphere off-screen and the beloved ABC daytime staple, alongside frustrations over scheduling disruptions that have left fans hanging during a pivotal storyline arc. The daytime television landscape buzzed with alarm this week as a prominent figure from ABC General Hospital unleashed a candid expose on social platforms, exposing what he described as a deeply unsettling undercurrent in the production environment that has fans reeling and pointing fingers at key decision-makers like executive producer Frank Valentini. This bombshell comes at a time when the show is navigating its own on-air dramas. But the real shock lies in the behind-the-scenes discord that contrasts sharply with the polished glamour viewers see on screen. Imagine the whispers in dressing rooms and hurried huddles between take tensions simmering over creative directions, casting choices, and interpersonal dynamics that could erode the collaborative spirit essential to crafting such intricate tales of Port Charles. Supporters of the show are quick to rally, while critics see this as a symptom of broader industry pressures, fueling debates on forums about whether such issues might impact the quality of future episodes and the morale of the talented ensemble. Devoted enthusiasts of the series were left fuming, when they tuned in eagerly only to discover their daily dose of Port Charles intrigue had vanished from the schedule, replaced by extended sports broadcasts that felt like an unnecessary intrusion on tradition. In an era brimming with dedicated athletic networks, the decision to pull ABC General Hospital from rotation struck many as outdated and inconsiderate, especially for a loyal audience that relies on its consistent rhythm to escape the real world. Picture families gathered around the living room TV, remote in hand, only to be met with baseball highlights instead of the latest twists involving the Quartermain legacy, a frustration echoed in viral posts decrying the prioritization of seasonal events over evergreen storytelling. This isn't the first time sports have overshadowed soaps, but the timing amplified the backlash, with petitions circulating online urging networks to explore alternative slots or streaming options to safeguard viewer loyalty. The interruptions hit particularly hard from Tuesday, October 1st through Wednesday, October 2nd, as ABC dedicated airtime to the high-stakes MLB Wild Card showdowns, paving the way for the World Series, leaving fans in suspense without their fix of dramatic confrontations and emotional revelations. Whispers suggest Thursday, October 3rd, might follow suit if the games extend into extra innings or require additional coverage, prolonging the agony for those invested in the unfolding narrative. To bridge the gap, some turn to official recaps and fan podcasts, dissecting clues about upcoming plot lines like encrypted messages hinting at inheritance bombshells. But nothing replaces the live thrill of watching characters navigate betrayal and romance in real time. This scheduling clash underscores a perennial tension between broadcast demands and soap opera devotion, with viewers expressing hope that future preemptions come with advanced warnings or makeup episodes to maintain momentum. Compounding the disappointment, this blackout coincides with a sensitive chapter in the show's history, a heartfelt on-screen tribute to the late Leslie Charleson, whose iconic portrayal of Monica Quartermain spanned over for decades and left an indelible mark on generations of fans. Charleson's passing earlier in 2025 prompted writers to weave her character's demise into the fabric of Port Charles, blending real grief with fictional catharsis in a way that honors her legacy while advancing key storylines. The recent funeral scenes, laden with tearful goodbyes and poignant flashbacks to Monica's triumphs and heartaches, served as an emotional anchor, drawing in even casual viewers moved by the authenticity of the mourning process. Yet, with the ceremony concluded, anticipation builds around the impending reading a high-tension event at the opulent Quartermain mansion where alliances will fracture and secrets spill, particularly regarding the fate of the family estate that has been the backdrop for countless power plays and tender moments alike. At the heart of this narrative crossroads is the question of who will inherit Monica's sprawling home, a symbol of stability amid the clan's endless rivalries, with speculations running rampant about beneficiaries like Ned, Tracy, or even surprise claimants tied to Monica's hidden past. Fans theorize elaborate twists, such as a codicil revealing charitable bequests or contested clauses sparking courtroom drama, all while the absence of episodes leaves imaginations in overdrive. This storyline not only pays homage to Charleson's contributions, but also sets the stage for seismic shifts in family dynamics, potentially reshaping relationships and loyalties in ways that echo her character's own resilient spirit, adding fuel to the off-screen fire. One ex-cast member has emerged with a scathing retrospective on his stint with the production, painting a picture far removed from the camaraderie often celebrated in press junkets. Charles Mazur, the charismatic Australian who stepped into the role of the enigmatic Jack Brennan back in 2023, has revisited his abrupt exit in early 2025, dismissing rumors and laying bare the interpersonal strife that prompted his departure. Brennan's arc was gaining steam, with flirtatious sparks flying alongside Carly Corinthos in scenes that blended suspense with sizzling chemistry. Think clandestine meetings in dimly lit diners or tense stackouts laced with witty banter-making measures. Sudden vanishing act all the more jarring for audiences invested in the character's rogue charm. The transition to a recast with Chris McKenna, a veteran from One Life to Live, stirred additional controversy as the loss of Measure's distinctive Aussie inflection altered the essence of Brennan, turning heads with every line delivery that lacked that signature twang. At the time, a piece in Soap Opera Digest floated the idea that overwhelming production demands those grueling marathons of minimal rehearsals and dense script pages that are the soap world's rite of passage drove him away, evoking sympathy for actors juggling intense schedules with personal lives. Yet Mazur, ever direct, has now countered that narrative on Twitter, clarifying that his affection for the craft and collaborations remained unwavering throughout his tenure. In a thread that garnered thousands of retweets, Mazur elaborated on the disconnect, stating that a misinterpreted old interview failed to capture his true sentiments, emphasizing instead his pride in every nuanced performance and the electric synergy with co-stars during Brennan's most memorable sequences. He delved into the creative highs, like improvising a heartfelt confession under pouring rain or navigating a car chase that tested his stunt skills, all while fostering bonds that felt like family off-camera. However, he didn't mince words about the shadows lurking beyond the lights, describing a toxic, almost malevolent web of backstage machinations in the Los Angeles studios, cliques forming over script approvals, whispers of favoritism in casting calls, and power struggles that stifled open dialogue and innovation. This unfiltered account resonates with past grievances, echoing sentiments from former star Kelly Monaco, who, after her 2024 dismissal from the role of Sam McCall, alluded to similar poisonous elements that marred her long run on the show. Monaco's exit, amid an outcry and calls for her reinstatement, highlighted patterns of abrupt changes that disrupt continuity and alienate talent, prompting broader conversations about workplace culture in daytime TV. As these voices amplify, the question lingers: could these disclosures prompt reforms under Valentini's watch, or will they fade into the background noise of production hustle? For now, they add a layer of real-world drama to GH's fictional world, keeping fans tuned in not just for the plots, but for the pulse of the people bringing them to life. Stick around for more updates as this story develops, and be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications to catch every spoiler and scoop from the world of ABC General Hospital.